What's the next mindset?
Yeah, win fast, lose fast. I think here the critical thing that people need to come away with is this idea that qualifying in and qualifying out are both intelligent and very appropriate decisions.
So lose fast could actually be a good idea.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, let go, don't hang on to the cliff, and
Yeah.
actually have the courage to let go sometimes, yeah. The two skill sets that actually help you determine whether you're going to continue to qualify in or qualify out are those that we call move off the solution, that people actually have to get very, very good at, and then structure the conversation. That's really how you define around the client's issues, evidence, and the impact, whether or not there's a valid business case that warrants ongoing discussion around this particular opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think, hand in hand with structuring conversation are these hand signals. These hand signals are part of scientific kinesthetic learning. Get very, very good at being able to demonstrate these hand signals in front of a group because they do help people absorb the concept.
And how about a facilitator who may feel like, it's a little silly?
Yeah, there's science behind all of this. It's not just an activity. It's not just a sort of refresher during the course of the day. It's an integral part of learning. Don't give up on these hand signals. Make sure you get very, very good at them and feel very comfortable in actually demonstrating them many times in front of your participants.
Okay, good, good. You know, one of the foundational ideas in this whole helping clients succeed content is this key idea of intent counts more than technique. What advice would you give to a facilitator who has a participant who thinks that might sound too soft? It's like drive your point home. It's like make it sale happen. Intent counts more than technique. Might sound soft.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point, Craig. A good facilitator of this program will know how to really emphasize the importance of intent. You'll notice that we call the skill, intent counts more than technique. Those are very carefully chosen words. It's not that you don't need technique and drive and process and all those sorts of things. The thing is that the premise of helping clients succeed, as you've already mentioned, really relies on this whole idea that your intent will always carry the day more than any skills or functionalities or capabilities that you might have. Yeah. So during the course of the day, if you get anybody pushing back on this intent piece, like it's, like you said, naive or superficial or too soft, really make sure that you go through the rigor of the exercise. There's another exercise in the manual that we're going to ask you to do during the course of the day that really helps to hone in on the importance of this idea that intent counts more than technique.
Yeah. Yeah, intent counts more than technique is a very powerful idea that really helps distinguish us from just everyone else. Our intent is to help them get a solution that truly meets their needs.
So we just finished enable decisions. Let's move to the second mindset now that we call win fast, lose fast. I'm going to give you some rationale for that mindset and also introduce you to two huge skill sets that really form part of this helping clients succeed approach. We call these move off the solution and structure the conversation. So as you watch this video right now, I'm going to ask you to hone in and write down in your learning journal, remember the learning journal that we asked you to keep close to you, things that seem to be resonating specifically around these two skill sets, move off the solution and structure the conversation.
As we think about the process of exploring an opportunity with a client, a good mindset to have is win fast, lose fast. If it is the right opportunity, invest your limited resources into winning as fast as possible. If the deal isn't qualified and won't happen, don't waste your time or theirs. Lose it as fast as possible. How often do you see salespeople hang on to a deal like they're on the edge of a cliff? With a white-knuckle grip, they cling to deals that aren't qualified and are unlikely to close. With the pounding pressure of quota and meeting personal and professional needs, they perceive letting go as instant death. The mindset win fast, lose fast requires an upfront investment in seeking to understand your client's needs, resources, and decision-making process. Seeking to understand requires strong dialogue skills, and even more importantly, an authentic intent to see things from your client's perspective and understand what constitutes success for them. Ben knows that building trust is a muscle that we must develop constantly. He knows that while his intent is not tangible and visible, it is felt by others. How his clients perceive his purpose in asking questions establishes their willingness to share truthful and accurate information. This in turn enables him to win fast by developing the trust needed to know what's real, and to lose fast by avoiding deals that waste time and money, the client's or his own.
If I could ask you to think about some of the things that resonated in that video for you, what I'd like for you to do is at your tables right now, could you just share one or two things that you wrote down? See if there's are there any common themes at your tables? And then we'll go table by table and just kind of get a summary of what you thought was most interesting out of that particular video. So let me give you a couple of minutes at your tables just to share what resonated, what you wrote down. All right, so let me interrupt you as far as you got in your table discussion. Could you appoint a spokesperson now? Somebody who's going to represent your table. Just share a couple of items that you spoke about that seemed to resonate for you at your table. Do you have a spokesperson over here? Okay. So everybody listen this way. See what each table thought. If the table mentions something that you also thought about, well, let's register that and offer something new. So we're always adding to the collective thinking. Go ahead.
I think the strongest theme for us was that idea that letting go does not equal death, that it's okay wherever you are in that cycle to be willing to say, you know what, this isn't the right thing and it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it's not failure, it's not either of those things, it's that business decision of this is not the right thing, so let's go on to the next.
Yeah, not the right thing for us and for them. Therefore, should we explore the option of not moving forward? Yeah, very good. Anything else that resonated?
I think that was the biggest thing for our...
Yeah, very good. How about back there?
You know, I trained about 150 sales reps, and I drive with them in the field, and I also evaluate them. And the one thing I found that the most successful ones was brought up there was being authentic, was being genuine. The ability for them to do that with the customers open up more, they tell them more. There's a bonding that happens there, and they end up closing more sales.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, because it turns out that people like to buy from people. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very good. Any other thoughts? That was the main thought out of your table. Very good. How about over here?
All right, I guess I'm a spokesman on this. So one of the things we talked about was just, intent is felt by others. And certainly that gets you to the win fast, lose fast, right? Getting out of there. It brings in more information, because if they know that you've got everything behind this, you've got the right ideas, someone might coach you and say, this isn't real. This is early. We're still 10 months out. Versus if you went in and you had this, in the box sales strategy, they're going to let you go through the motions and move you out. And they probably won't invite you back in.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole intent sort of links very closely to this idea of authenticity, doesn't it? Yeah. How about over here? Do you want to say something else, Dan?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you go in with intent as well, I think back years ago when I was in the field, there was this, I had enough opportunity to where when I went in with intent and I felt like there was something blocking me, I would point it out right in front of the key stakeholders, and that actually helped me move forward if the deal was real. But if I didn't go in with that same intent and I was really trying to hang on to that deal, I probably wouldn't have tacked that individual who was blocking me and raised this person up. I probably would have tried to go around, and it probably would have hurt me later on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the direct correlation between relationship building and intent.
Right.
Yeah. How about over here?
We said also the letting go, but we also talked about that a little bit about the intent, seeking to understand, specifically talking about when RFQs and proposals get put out, where perhaps we find out the decision may have already been made, or there isn't going to be a decision at that time. So it's really understanding, listening, and understanding their intent as well as knowing our intent.
Yes. Yeah, and if you are in RFP land, that's something of a dangerous signal, right?
Yes.
Unless we actually help them write the RFP.
Exactly.
How about back there?
Well, we think win fast sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Lose fast on the other side, that's a bit of a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
So I think the key points for us were the conversation skills being a muscle to exercise regularly. So
Yeah.
not getting lazy and really trying to excel in that arena, because that opens the doors. A lot of same things that have been mentioned. I think avoiding wasting the time, which turns, of course, to revenue and money. Also, we mentioned for the client and the customer, for the client and the company, our company, even though you're closing this door, builds a trust, which opens up future doors,
Yes.
because you're not wasting their time.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. And making no an option for the client is really important. And I think it lowers their guard down.
Yeah. Yeah, empowering the no, it gets all the defensive barriers down because they don't feel they have to protect a position or anything like that. Yeah, very good. Yeah. So, as we wrap this win fast, lose fast capability up, I'm going to get you around flip charts again. Now for win fast, lose fast, let's begin to think about some of the results. Remember, it really is all around as you think about getting the sort of results that would benefit the client and us and the client. It's all about making sure that you get a complete list before you move on. Keep an open mind. Let them determine what the number one issue is. Even though you knew they were going to say that, it's so much more valuable when they actually say it. Right? And there's that idea of start anywhere, go everywhere. Right? If the client wants to begin here because they know what the impact is of a certain, and then they go up here, you just have to go everywhere. Start anywhere, go everywhere. All right. Pradu, could I ask you to find the next flip chart, if you wouldn't mind, over there also? And we're going to do a major piece of logistics right now. I'm going to ask everybody to move clockwise. So whatever flip chart you were at last time, could you move to the next one and, just kind of move clockwise? Do you think we're going to be able to do that logistics? Yes. Especially after lunch? Are you sure we're going to be able to do this? All right, so find a new flip chart and think about some of the results, and then we'll report back to the larger group. And let's just go around the room once again, then we'll take a quick bio break. So in terms of results, by the way, look at the screen. Have you noticed we're always following the same model, right? The mindset, which in this case was win fast, lose fast. Skill sets, move off the solution, structure conversation, and the results, which is what we have up there on the flip charts. So why don't we begin over there? Do we have a spokesperson for that one over there? The benefits or the results for us?
I can speak to that.
Did you speak last time?
I did, so that's why
Oh, have you been assigned the spokesperson for the second time? That's fine.
I am.
That's fine. Go ahead. That's fine, Prabhu.
He's just so good at it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Prabhu. Yeah, go ahead.
He's a good salesman. All right, so the results and the benefits for us would be that we would save time by focusing on the correct items for the client.
Correct.
We would build a trusted relationship since we ask the questions. We would clarify the issues and also help, again, coming back to prioritizing. So we are working on the correct issues and stuff, number 5 and number 1 that you were talking about, which would allow us to increase our credibility because we'll be seen as a competent organization. And in some instances, if this is not the right fit for us, we may still be able to say it is not the right fit if we ask those questions. It keeps the dialogue going. Otherwise, it would be, I want this, boom, right? So here you're asking the questions. It also helps us to stay client-focused instead of saying, here's our strengths. We want to find out what the client wants. And it also, if we had this as our common practice, then it would increase the quality and also the velocity in our pipeline.
Yes, absolutely. because you're going to be able to qualify in or qualify out so much sooner. Yeah, very good. Very nice, yeah. How about over here? What's in it for the client? Who had that one? Yeah, go ahead.
As you'll see, ours are very similar to that, which is a good thing. Saves time, which is the first on all of them. The client is appreciative and respects you if you can walk away and say, hey, this isn't a good fit for us right now. We'd like to work through the future. I think you gain a lot of credibility through that and builds a trusting relationship. You get more data and understand their number one priority. But like you said, they come up and you're like, oh, I forgot about this. They add things. You just learn more about it and about the situation. Avoids assumptions. And through this process, you can also learn about other providers. Maybe, oh, well, you do that. I didn't know they did that. You know, this type of comparison type thing. And it helps clarify the problem.
Yeah.
What is the actual underlying problem that we're trying to solve?
Yeah.
Technology aside. And
Yeah, well, good. And look at that, avoid assumptions. How much guessing is going on in your environment today? I mean, if you got any document that you're about to present into a client, and you got one of those yellow highlighters, you know those yellow things, and you began to highlight stuff that you're guessing at because it has not been validated by the client, is it possible you'd be surprised as to how much yellow is appearing on those pages? Yeah, avoid the guessing, avoid the assumptions. Yeah, how about over here? Do we have a spokesperson? Yeah, go ahead.
So the first one is just saving time, because if we get to what the meat of the issue is, we can get it over with quickly. The second thing was identifying the right issues and solutions. Kind of goes back to the saving time also, basically saying, let's figure out what you need, and then if it's not what you need, we'll move off of it. Reduce cost of sales, so we're not just spinning our wheels over months and months on a sales cycle. And the last one is increase results with momentum and velocity. So the further you get into it, you can the boulder will roll down the hill better.
Yeah. And this save time has come up frequently, right? It's one of the main things. Is it possible that this actually speeds up the sales cycle entirely? Yeah, sometimes I come across people that say, oh, we don't have time to do this, all these conversations, all these questions. Actually, this is how you speed up the sales cycle. Yeah. All right, now that we've thought about what's in it for us, for the client, for both of us, any last minute things you want to jot down in your learning journal? Very good. So this is what I thought we'd do. Just before we pick up and go into the next topic, should we do a quick bio break? An after-lunch bio break. Do you know what a bio break is? It's 5 minutes, yes. You do the biological thing and you come right back. There are no phone calls, there's no email, there's none of that, okay? 5 minutes bio break. So let's begin just to kind of do the last lap of the day. These were the mindsets and the skill sets that we've actually been considering, and beyond considering, we've also practiced and applied to a real opportunity, a real client that you brought in at the beginning of the day. Remember, Enable Decisions, it's all about call planning. Win Fast, Lose Fast, it's all about moving people off solutions so you can structure a good conversation, hopefully a business-level conversation. Now, is it possible that not everybody can talk business? Is that possible? Yeah, so that's why we said, well, you may have to talk about the ideal provider. You may even have to have sort of a technical conversation according to the level that you're at. The structured conversation approach, it still applies: issues, evidence, impact. And then the last mindset is this one that we call handle objections. And the sort of counterintuitive idea that you need to slow down for yellow lights and deal with them whilst you're still on the phone, whilst you're still in the room. And we offered you a 3-part response that you can have in your pocket that's simple enough for you to actually execute on the fly. All right, so let me move on with you. Is it possible that we might also want to or have to deal with yellow lights around the availability of resources, the resources of time and people and money? So let me ask you this. If, there we are in conversations, and all of a sudden, if we were to ask a client a question such as, have you thought about a time when you want to see these problems resolved or these results generated? What might be a couple of yellow lights that we're scanning for as we ask that question?
Realisticness.
Yeah.
If they want to replace all their systems in a month,
Yes.
that may not be realistic.
Yeah, clearly unrealistic. I want all of this by tomorrow. Right? Clearly unrealistic. The other yellow light would be around time, would be what? Yeah, whenever, right? Yeah, whenever. How come that's a yellow light? When they say, yeah, whenever. Yeah, yeah. Aren't you glad we're here talking about yellow lights in case these things are going to happen? Around people, what might be a couple of yellow lights? If we say, have you thought about how many people you're going to put into this project and how many people we have to put into this project? What might be a couple of yellow lights that we're scanning for?
Resource availability.
Yeah, that they say, yeah, they say to us, for example, no, 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 we don't have anyone, you're going to do everything, or we don't need you, we're going to do everything, right? Clear yellow lights there. And then money, right? And when you say to a client, have you thought about what level of investment might be appropriate to do all these, attend to all these issues that we've been talking about over here? Let me ask you this. What do you learn if you ask that sort of question early on? Have you thought about what level of investment you're going to need in order to do all this stuff?
You learn what their expectations are in the very beginning. Because you might not recommend as complicated of a solution. Maybe you're misunderstanding what their real needs are.
Yes.
And so if you're asking that early on, you're not going to spend a lot of time in planning out a very complicated solution when something much more streamlined might have sufficed.
Yeah.
So very quickly you'd realize, oh, let's get kind of level set here,
Yeah.
so that I can then start to think of a solution that's more
And we
appropriate
become
to
a lot
needs.
more, sort of we frame something and something that's a lot more realistic for what the client's
Exactly.
needs really are. Houdini.
I was just going to say, kind of similar, whether you're wasting your time or not, because you don't want to waste your time if they don't have the budget.
Yeah,
So.
yes. So qualify in, qualify out, all that stuff.
Yeah, I
Steve?
was just going to say, you know what their budget is, or you can learn
Yeah.
what their budget is, and if it's in your parameters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you noticed if you say, have you thought about what level of investment is appropriate? And the person says, oh, you're going to go and have to talk to the committee over there, and, that immediately tells you you're talking to. Has anybody in this room ever overinvested in the wrong people? So look at all the value that actually bubbles up to the surface real fast if you begin to flush out possible yellow lights around time, people, and money. So I'd like for you to practice this in your same groups, in the same groups of 3. Could you please go to card number 15? And once again, we're only going to do about 6 cards. All right, card 15. These cards have a little bit more to do with the availability of time and people and money. So it's the same system once again. Somebody in the group of 3 reads the front of the card. We brainstorm a couple of yellow lights, and then we take it in turns to articulate the 3-part response. Then we look on the back and compare what that person said with what we have on the back, and the next card, and the next card, and we just do 6 of these also. Off you go. So, once again, just let me debrief this with you. There we are offering you a 3-part response, the EQ followed by the concern that you actually state almost very clinically, right? It's got to be crystal clear, the concern that you're seeing, the problem, the issue that you're seeing, and then remember the 3rd part, a question that sends it back to the client. Anything in the learning journal that you want to capture around slowing down for yellow lights? All right, what sorts of things did you write down, just out of interest? Yeah.
Less is more.
So explain that a little bit.
So the more tongue-tied, the more I tried to get more, tongue-tied into describing my feelings and things like that, it just started to go down
Yes.
quickly.
Yeah.
Rather than, just as you said, just be concise and sincere and humble in your approach, but be very, very crisp.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very good, isn't it? Less is more. Have you ever been in front of a client and the more you talk, the more you're digging yourself into the hole and you're just telling yourself, shut up, and your mouth is still moving? Have you ever done that in front of a client? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, invest in the EQ in the softening statement, right? Invest in that. And then it's just the concise, clinically clear concern that we put on the table without any descriptions or emotional words or anything. It's just what we're seeing. And then the question, what do you think? Yeah. What else did you write down? It's something of a learning for you.
I just think to maintain the focus that I want them to resolve the issue for me.
Yes.
And that's, though it's so simple, it really is very different from a lot of the trainings, and we were discussing this, that, we've been kind of taught to resolve these issues for them. When we recognize it's an issue right up front and then address it, I think it kills the tension for both of you.
Yeah, it really does. And it establishes that whole lot. Isn't that what, you remember the trusted advisor that we had over here? Isn't that what these people are very good at? You know, it's salesy people over there that feel they have to fix and resolve. You know, you got a problem, I got a solution. You got a question, I got an answer. These people are getting, well, slow down. Let's talk about this a little bit more. Now, I definitely have an opinion as to how we might resolve this issue. The thing is, I'd love to hear your opinion first. I've got something in my back pocket. It's not that I'm clueless, it's just that I want to get you talking first. Yeah. Now, is it possible that, we will have to have a capability to sort of react to yellow lights, these sorts of things that we've been practicing so far that just bubble up to the surface? Is it possible that we might proactively also want to put some yellow lights on the table that we are seeing, out there on the horizon? We've done this sort of project before. We know these sorts of yellow lights sooner or later are going to bubble up to the surface, and we want to proactively put the yellow light on the table. Isn't that also what trusted advisors are very good at? Not just reacting, actually proactively putting yellow lights, because the client needs to know that they've got to get some stuff in order before that yellow light comes and hits them in the face too. So it works in both directions. Final video, and then we're done. Well, almost done. Here we go.
Dramatic improvement actually comes down to one thing that directly correlates to predicting sales success. Despite conventional wisdom, research shows that what leads to sales success is not your number of years experience, your personality type, your sheer intellectual horsepower, or your competitive nature. The only factor that has been scientifically demonstrated as correlating to sales success is the willingness to practice. Not any kind of practice, but expertly defined routines that are simplified and sequenced into proven learning patterns. Experts call this the science of deliberate practice. It starts with your decision to get better at qualifying your pipeline. Then a willingness to practice and get coaching. That's what correlates with success. Based on our experience with tens of thousands of sales professionals, we have researched and studied the improvement patterns of top performers. And that is how we've designed this 12-week playbook system. Good training is a good start, but winning requires execution. Be willing to apply the mindsets and skill sets you have learned by using your qualified checklist to move deals in or out of your pipeline. Make sure you have identified your coaching partners each week to help you on this 12-week playbook journey. Then, every 4 weeks, do a check-in with your sales leader to give and get feedback on what's working for you and where you're getting stuck. The key isn't just having a coach, it's creating a culture of coaching on your team. By following this proven system, we know that you, like thousands of others, will find greater success at qualifying your pipeline. Good luck on your journey.
Well, there we are. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure to actually be with you and to run this by you. Thank you so much for all the work you've done and your willingness just to try out these ideas and at least have them on the table for your consideration. Thank you so much. Thank you. Remember the 4 rights. Let's just remember those. Those are on the opposite page, on page 12 right there. We want you to have the right end in mind in order to talk about the right types of issues for where we're at in the selling cycle, with the right people in the meeting that can actually make the decision that we're going to ask at the end of the meeting, we're going to ask them to make at the end of the meeting for the right amount of time. This sort of 30-minute thing. If I need you all day on site to show you how this machine works, it's an all-day meeting. The 30 minutes and 50-minute Q&A at the end will not do for the right amount of time. All right, so as we wind up this first mindset that we call enable decisions. What I'm going to ask you to think about as we looked at enable decisions, the skill set, the key skill set that we've emphasized within this mindset is what we call call planning. And I've walked you through some essential parameters that at least we would consider them to be essential parameters of effective call planning. Now, if I could ask you to think about some of the results that you'd actually be able to achieve, some of the results that the client might be able to achieve also through improved call planning on our part. And what are some of the results or some of the benefits that we both might achieve, both client and ourselves, as we increase our capability to call plan effectively? So I'm going to get you huddled around 3 flip charts. You'll notice here, for example, and maybe I could ask this table and this table to sort of huddle around this flip chart. And if somebody wouldn't mind being a scribe here and use one of these markers, and with regards to the whole enable decisions mindset, what are the results? What might be some of the benefits to both the client and ourselves with superior call planning capabilities to enable better decisions? And Paul, would you mind just lifting up that flip chart? Would you do me a favor over there? Yeah, and maybe Bruce, could you flip over the flip chart on the stand over there? There are a couple of pages at the front. So maybe I could get these 2 tables huddled around that flip chart. Maybe I could get these 2 tables over here huddled around here. And with regards to the client, you know, how could this benefit? What results could the client achieve with this capability to enable decisions more effectively? And maybe we could get that table over there. Can you see what results or benefits do we on our side achieve as a result of enabling decisions more effectively? So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. If you could appoint a scribe at each flip chart to actually write down 3 or 4 bullets of things that actually pertain, in this case, to client and us, in that case, just to the client, and in that case, just to us. Could I invite you to stand up and huddle around these flip charts? And if I would just go around the room, and if I could ask the person that was actually the scribe as sort of spokesperson for the group, maybe we could just go around the flip charts, and if each scribe would actually just summarize some of the things that you thought about. Could we begin with you? Would you be willing?
Sure. So we talked about, we were focused on the results and benefits for both sides, the client and us.
Correct.
So the first thing we said is, once we have a good qualified meeting, we can understand, are we a fit? From both sides.
Yes.
It's a better use of time. We can get to those decisions quickly, and that seemed to be a lot of the theme was quicker. So we can understand if both sides learn something. So we learn a little about them, they learn a little bit about us. We can build a relationship and build trust much more quickly, eliminate obstacles, and we talked about obstacles being things like competitors. It may be beliefs about us, or our beliefs about them, preconceived ideas. We can eliminate all those. We can build structure, build a timeline, and probably most importantly, we can get to a decision.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very nice. Look at that. You know, this is in it for both of us, right? Yeah, very nice. Thank you for sharing that. How about over there? That was results, benefits for the client, right, with regards to this mindset.
Right. The results for the client is getting the client the right solution, making a productive use of their time, building trust for the next sale or the next meeting, saving or eliminating potential problems, building confidence in their own decision making and what decisions they have to make, and understanding what decisions need to be made by them so they come prepared with the right people, which leads to the getting the resource allocation decisions made properly and helps them visualize success.
Yeah, very nice, yeah. Everything is in it for the client. And how about us?
For us, obviously, revenue, close the deal, that's the end in mind for all of us as salespeople. But we also arrived at right fit determination, knowing very quickly, is this even worth pursuing? And building a better relationship. That trusted advisor concept of, they really trust what you're saying if you come prepared, which, you save time in the future. You don't have to uncover a whole lot in the meeting. You've already uncovered it before the meeting, which saves time, increases your confidence, which goes along with knowing what to expect and being more prepared. And then also referrals, just building that client trust.
Yeah, very good. So as we go through all the mindsets, we've just finished one, the three that we do in total during the course of the day. I'm going to ask you, we're going to finish each mindset like this, right? What are the benefits for us, for them, and for both of us? We don't just have intent just because, we were born that way or something. You have to go and visit the gym with frequency in order to keep that intent muscle strong. Because if you don't exercise that muscle, the muscle goes away. It's not sufficient just to have lots of meetings and lots of phone calls. You have to, in order to have good intent, you have to be willing to go to the gym. So here's the premise, right? Would you agree with this? We've already touched on this earlier on today. You're going to be more successful when you concentrate on the success of others rather than on your own success. Could you go to page 17 in your manual? And for you personally, think about your intent. Think about your authenticity. And for you personally, could you just answer those two questions right there? All right, and what I asked you to do on page 17 is actually a visit to the gym. Remember we spoke about exercising the muscle? What I'm going to ask you to do is return to page 17 with frequency to keep that intent muscle strong. Now, here's what I'd like to suggest to you, that this just doesn't happen automatically. You have to be willing to go to the gym to exercise that particular muscle. So, let me ask you to shout out some ideas. What types of things cause you not to focus on mutual benefit?
Quota pressure?
Quota, yeah, absolutely. The end of the month, the end of the quarter, right? Then all of a sudden it's about closing this deal because we have to meet these numbers. What other things?
Could be the car payments.
Car payments, yeah. And mortgage and kids and all that stuff, right? Yeah.
It could be the large commission that might be sitting out there that may be larger than the past.
Yeah, we got this big opportunity. It's very difficult to actually be sort of objective in front of this large paycheck potential, right?
Fear of up-and-coming competition.
Yes,
for me.
The fear of competition, all sorts of fears also, right, that sort of bubble up to the surface real fast.
The scripting and the paradigm of the organization of which you're a part. So you might be more consultative and partner-oriented, but the culture that you exist in is not.
Yes, absolutely. So we're kind of battling the internal stuff, the internal politics, all of that sort of situation too. Yeah, so these are very real things, right? Biases that the client already has against us, or against our company, or against our brand. And sometimes they point the finger at you and they blame you, and it's not fair because it wasn't us, it was them that actually caused it. So all of these things, I'm not saying that we can necessarily control all of these things. What I am saying is that let's raise the awareness that these are the types of things that attack good intent. Here's what I'd like you to think about. Is it possible that you could have a pretty good business case? You understand the issues, the evidence, and the impact. You're having good conversations and moving off solutions and doing everything and kind of building this information. And then everything begins to fall through the cracks because we did not understand how the client is really going to make a decision. Have you noticed how often that happens? Do you have clients that do not make decisions? Do you have those clients? Do you have clients that don't even have a process for making a decision? Do you have those? And clients that have a process, it's just that they don't even understand it themselves. Do you have those clients? Yeah. So I'm going to suggest it gets really, really critical to understand as much as we can around their decision-making process, because that's where so much falls through the cracks. So let me introduce you now to this concept that we call the decision grid. And once again, as you look at this video, in your learning journal, start jotting down the things that seem to be resonating for you.
Understanding who the decision makers are and how they will decide is a critical part of knowing who to invest in. Early in the sales cycle, Ben focuses on gaining access to key decision makers in order to understand their decision-making criteria. With a more complex opportunity, more stakeholders will be involved in the decision-making process, each with different roles. Identifying these stakeholders is the first step to deciding whom we need to speak with. The decision grid is a powerful tool for mapping out a client's decision-making process. Let's take a look at the elements of the decision grid. First, get the steps the client needs to take in order to get to a final decision. Again, these are the client's steps, not yours. Then 2, identify the decision that the client will make in each step. Then 3, determine when the client needs to make each decision. Doing this helps both the client and us understand the stamina we're all going to need to keep this opportunity alive. Now that we've completed the logical pieces of information, it starts to get a little more personal. Next, we ask who is involved in each step of the process. We're looking for names and titles, not just departments or committees. A question that we want to consider is, how will I work with the gatekeeper to gain access to decision makers? If you gain access, you will want to understand what criteria these decision makers will apply in their decision-making process. We call this getting the how directly from the who, and the operative word is directly. While it may not happen every time, we simply want to improve the probabilities. If we never ask, it's highly unlikely we will ever see them. If we always ask, because our intent is to create a good solution for them to choose from, we increase our chances of success. So Nick, as facilitators are helping their participants kind of transition from the training to the 12 weeks, what do you suggest they keep in mind?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's bear in mind that the whole day has really been about transitioning from the training itself into the 12-week playbook system.
Yeah.
Because during the course of the whole day, we've actually been doing exercises, we've been using the tools, we've actually done some card exercises. People come away from the day with everything electronically already. So everything's been transitioning in that direction. I think also a very important bridge from the training day into the playbook 12-week system is this page that forms an integral part of the day, where we end up thinking about each mindset, and we're going to invite each participant to think about 2 things they're going to stop doing and 2 things they're going to start doing in a very practical way, such that immediately there's something to talk about and something to do with the coaching partners that we've also established during the course of the day. Throughout the day also, we've been really focusing on the personal learning journal. This is where people have been capturing things that are resonating for them, things that seem to make sense, things that give them a slightly different option to what they've already been doing for so many years maybe. So as you put all of these things together, you'll notice that really and truly the whole day has been about transitioning beyond the training.
Yeah, so it's actually helpful to think about it, that this is simply day 1 of a 12-week implementation to get very different kind of results. And how much time each week do you anticipate, going through the exercise, watching the videos is going to take?
Well, there's the other thing. It's only going to be about 50 minutes a week. It's under an hour per week that if you dedicate that amount of time to this, those results will come. So I think those are some of the key watch-outs that facilitators might want to bear in mind.
Great. So as we put these things into place, we're not only setting the foundation for a great day of training, but a very powerful 12 weeks to get some different kinds of results. Anything else that you would suggest that facilitators pay attention to?
Yeah, I think you'll notice that in the playbook, we've actually marked out in gray some specific times when we would want the participants to engage with their sales leader, their sales manager, the person that they're being accountable to. These are sort of 3 markers over the course of the 12-week period that sort of establish some milestones as to progress that should have been made.
Okay, great, thank you. So this provides us with the ability to kind of summarize what we're learning in that 4-week period and for them to report out on the kind of results that they're seeing.
So if you'd go to week 10 in your playbook, remember this is the 12-week system that we introduced at the beginning of the day. Just to give you a point of reference, week 10 is all about getting proficient in gaining access and the use of yellow lights. So we're not actually going to do the topics that are mentioned in that week. I just want to continue to refer to the playbook. And you see that what we're practicing here today actually gets reinforced over the 12 weeks. Now, I'd like to suggest to you that one of the proactive things that we need to get very good at is sort of proactively requesting access to other stakeholders. If we've done a good job on our decision grid, by now we should have identified certain people in the who column that we're going to have to talk to. Because as you mentioned earlier on, Crystal, it's all about getting the how from the who, right? That means more than often I'm going to have to get through some sort of a gatekeeper, somebody that will allow or deny access to those other stakeholders. So there might be a moment where we proactively want to go to the current person that we're talking to, my counterpart. I might say, look, these other stakeholders are involved. We're going to have to talk to them because we want to get a solution that exactly meets everybody's needs. What's the best way of setting up meetings with the CIO and the plant director and the IT manager? And then more often than not, we will get a gatekeeper response. Do you get gatekeepers? Yeah. So let's think about how we deal with gatekeepers. It's a variation on the same theme, isn't it? It's another type of yellow light. It's just we're going to use the same response. We're just going to have to be a little bit more proactive in how we actually try to get through the gatekeeper to access these other people. Now, what I'm going to share to you is not a guarantee that you will always get through every gatekeeper. You know, that guarantee in my 25 years of selling does not exist. If anybody does have that guarantee, let us know, because we will pay a lot of money for that. In the meantime, here's a skill. All right? So if we say to the client, the CIO, well, we need to talk to the CIO. Is it possible they might come back with this sort of response? CIO, too busy. What other typical gatekeeper pushbacks do you get? They're too busy. What else? I need to talk to the CEO, the CIO, all these people. I can make the decision.
I'll forward the information.
Yes, send your questions to me and I'll forward the information. What else do they say? Yeah, we're not allowed. Yeah, it's against the rules, it's against policy. Just follow the procedures like everybody else is. Anything else they say to you? We want to be fair to everybody, so it's better than nobody talks to anybody. And I want the best solution at the best price and, you know, at the same time. Pretty dysfunctional stuff, would you agree? So here we go. The CIO is too busy. Here we go. I can imagine she's very busy, particularly with everything that's going on. There's our EQ statement, right? And now comes the second part. My concern is that we may end up wasting everybody's time if we begin to propose ideas that are irrelevant to your company's situation. It will take even more time to clear up any possible misunderstandings. In order to avoid wasting your team's time, what do you think is the best way forward? Now, have you noticed in that third part right there, it's still a question. It's still that, you know, we're reverting everything back to the client. The thing is, it's quite assumptive, isn't it? You know, there is a way forward, and what do you think is the best way forward? We're not really asking permission. It does have all the EQ and all the softening statement attached to it. The thing is that since we are committed to a solution that exactly meets everybody's needs, what's the best way forward? It's quite assertive, isn't it? It's quite proactive. I'd like to suggest to you that gatekeeper objections usually fall into one of three categories. It'll be a time objection, a fairness objection, or a responsibility objection. It's always going to be one of the three: time, fairness, or responsibility. So since we can predict that we're going to get those sorts of pushbacks, we can also prepare as to how to deal with them. All right, so once again, if I could ask you, what resonated with you in terms of preconditioning as you watch that video? Yeah.
The more we precondition, the better the meeting will go.
Yeah. Precondition for success is speed to value, right? So we arrive at the meeting and we're already up and running. We're not arriving cold, it's already warm.
I think the aha moment for me came because, again, we just want to come prepared to present. And so the idea here is that they also come prepared with something, you know, to bring to the table. So it's not just one-sided.
Yeah, that's very good. It's this idea, we call this mutuality of effort. You know, we're going to talk about these topics. Would you mind preparing some information to talk about these other topics? And that way we both jointly generate the mutual benefit. Yeah. What else did you notice? Yes, sir.
A lot of times when you do that and you're getting with the client before, a lot of times what you can get out of that as well is coaching, which is great. You're going to know who your champions are as you go to prep for this meeting.
Yeah, yeah, very good.
I was going to say that the meeting should not be a mystery, right? They should know what the end in mind is. I will be asking you to make a decision at the end of the meeting, and here's how we're going to get there. And then that way you can get that coaching up front if you're off base.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like reading a mystery novel where in the final page, at the final chapter, oh my goodness, the butler did it. You know, actually, we begin at the beginning with the meeting with the news. The butler did it. And here's the story.
And also preconditioning can provide an opportunity for the customer to provide input into the end in mind.
Yes, yeah, and whether they're bought into the end in mind or we have to change something. Yeah.
I think also the right people in the meeting. I think a lot of times when the salesperson goes and the client's expecting some real technical questions to be answered, things like that, to know that in advance so you have the right technical people there is really important.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, once again, so we're inviting the right people in for that meeting. Have you ever invited people to a meeting that you wish you'd never invited in the first place? Yeah, this helps us avoid that trap, right? Yeah. Did I have a hand over there? Yeah, go ahead.
I think the flip side of what Julia said is that we want to understand who the client is bringing to the meeting.
Yes. Yeah, because that's an indication of the sort of questions that might come our way and the preparation that we need to have. And who do we bring into the meeting? Because that technical person might actually be very, very valid given the fact that this person's going to be in on their side. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it gives you really opportunity for good course correction because you may find, first of all, you're going to confirm that there's a key topic for the meeting, but at the same time, you may find you're way off the mark, and you may even identify the fact that a meeting may not be right now.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like win fast, lose fast alignment. You want to make certain that the value of the meeting is going to be there, and you don't want a disaster because those meetings are so critical. If you're off course,
yeah,
you may lose your entire opportunity.
There we go.
The
yes.
Yeah.
Very good. So if I could ask you to go to page 13 in your manual. And I'm not going to ask you to actually write out what might be the email that you would send in order to precondition. By the way, let me ask you this. How else could you precondition? I mean, email is one way to do it, right? Are there any other ways that you could precondition a meeting?
A phone call, even a text, depending on what the relationship is.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if you maybe have a existing relationship, just have an informal coffee or something like that if it's a good enough relationship.
There you go, a sort of a pre-meeting prep sort of thing.
Kind of build some champions.
Yes, very, very good.
I try and have an Outlook invitation. That way, indirectly, I find out who will be at the meeting, and everybody's kind of involved in that chain of setting up the direction.
So there are various ways to precondition, right? What we have here on page 13 are examples of a couple of emails. Just read them. They don't always have to be like this. They're just some examples that you might like to have as a point of reference. All right, so there we have a couple of examples of what a preconditioned email might look like. Remember, once again, modify the language according to how formal, how informal you need to be, how far down the sales cycle you are. All those things actually affect how you actually construct your preconditioning approach. All right, so let me move on and ask you to think about this as we get a little bit more into these key beliefs. You tell me, true or false, as we just read these things off the screen. People make decisions based on beliefs, true or false? Those beliefs are often not explicit. Those beliefs are often not well-formed. Those beliefs are not always shared amongst all decision makers on the client side. Yeah. How about this one? The client is more likely to agree to the end in mind if we can explicitly state and resolve the beliefs that support that end in mind. Yeah. So this is a pretty critical part of our call planning preparation. Let's say you have a teenage daughter, and she's been invited on some mountaineering hike or trek or something pretty dangerous maybe. It's winter and it's cold and there's snow on the ground. If you were that person's mother or father, what would you have to believe before you would say, yes, you can go on that expedition? Yeah.
Well, you'd have to have confidence in the people that she was going with.
Exactly. Who's she
Their
going
skills.
with? Yeah. What else would you have to believe?
Assume that this would be an excellent learning opportunity for her and it would toughen her up.
Yes, there's some benefit
Confidence,
that she's
yes.
going to actually get as a result of this.
That she's secure.
She's secure and safe, absolutely.
That, she actually prepared in advance for this.
Yeah. This isn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing. There's actually been some preparation to get to a point where she can actually go up a mountain.
Probably that there's plans in place in case something goes wrong, that she would be.
Absolutely. There are contingencies available just in case something happens. Yeah, there you go. So look at this. You've got to believe that she's got the experience, the safety, the trust, the maturity, and only then will I sign on the dotted line and allow you to go on this expedition. So this is what clients are going through. They have to believe certain things. So if I could ask you in your manual to go to page, let me find the page, page 9 in the manual. If you could just read, there we have some examples of a couple of ends in mind. Just read those if you would. And then on page 11, if you could flip over to page 11, and there you will have some examples of what we mean by key beliefs that are associated to each end in mind. All right, so now that we've given you an idea of what we mean by key beliefs, you'll also notice on that page we have what we call sort of proof points. How will you actually bring each key belief to the table? I'm going to ask you to think about that. Remember, these key beliefs have to be very client-centric. Where do you think you get these key beliefs from? Because they probably just don't appear magically, right? Research, yeah. Anything that you can do, even about their industry, at a very high level. If you don't know a lot about that particular company yet, at least some industry research will actually help you develop some of these key beliefs. What else could help you develop a key
Word of
belief?
mouth.
Word of mouth, yeah. Your own experience with this type of project, with this type of initiative that we're talking about. Yeah. There you go. Earlier conversation with the client, things that they've said, concerns that they've raised. Yeah. So they come from various sources. Once again, just let's make sure that they're very client-centric. And I'm also going to ask you to think about how will you make sure that you actually, put each key belief on the table in such a way that the client will understand the key belief and therefore progress to the end in mind. So the rationale for that was I wanted you to actually write out. Have you noticed something happens to the human brain when you actually have to write something out? Sort of registers more. Yeah. I wanted you to write it out and then try it out more spontaneously within your context, within your reality also. Just before we go to lunch, could you go back to your learning journal? Do you have a meeting? Do you have a meeting where you're going to be able to do this next week? Or did you have a meeting last week where you did not do this, and you need to go back and see if you can generate a different approach? You know, write down the name of the client, the name of the meeting, when it is. All right. So, it's 11 o'clock. Well, just after 11 o'clock. We got 45 minutes for lunch. Is that a good idea? Yes. Could I ask you, if to come back at 11:45, would that be all right? So it's 40 minutes for lunch. Is that all right? Okay, see you at 11:45. Let me get you to this, the whole premise that really supports this platform of qualifying opportunities is what we have in the center there. This is the sort of the trademark that we use, the flag that we fly, our reason to exist. This commitment to help our clients succeed, that is important to them. It's really all about, that's the mantra. That's sort of runs through our professional DNA, to help clients succeed at that is important to them. And what we have here is sort of how we approach the execution of that kind of premise, that philosophy. You know, first of all, you've got a plan. You know, you've got to plan your territory, plan the accounts, and then what we call fill your pipeline. Got to make sure that you're filling everything with the right sorts of deals, such that then you can actually begin to qualify, which is what we're going to be focusing on over the course of today. Qualifying opportunities, and we'll explain what we mean by qualify. And then the cycle goes to win. You know, how do you actually close on a deal and make sure that you win the deal? So can you see there's a full sales cycle. What we're going to be focusing on is this element that we call qualifying opportunities today. Could you please go to page 35? And I'm going to ask you to think about now on page 35, out of everything that you've been writing down in your learning journal and sort of the ahas and the compare and contrast with what you already do, all of that stuff that we've been working on during the course of the day. If I asked you now to think about 2 things that you're going to start and 2 things that you're going to stop doing with regards to each mindset that we've actually considered and practiced over the course of today, what might those things be? 2 things to start, 2 things to stop on each mindset. And refer to your notes if that's helpful. Does everybody have 2 things to start, 2 things to stop? Okay, at your tables then, could you share? At least share 1 thing that each one of you are going to do on each mindset. Just share that at your table, if you would. Sometimes it's interesting to hear what other people are going to focus on. It may be similar to yours. It might be a little bit different. So at your tables, could you just take it in turns to share what you're going to start, what you're going to stop doing? All right, just out of interest, what sort of things in Enable Decisions, what sort of things are you going to start to do? Just out of interest.
Using the decision grid.
More use of the decision grid, yeah. What else are you going to start in Enable Decisions? Yeah, more rigorous in the planning and the call planning. Yeah. Starting with the end in mind. Remember this, it's very powerful that what do we want the client to decide as a result of this meeting is a hugely powerful concept, yeah. Anything you're going to stop doing in Enable Decisions?
Going too fast, sorry.
Going too fast, yeah. It's, incremental decisions, yeah.
Seller-focused presentations.
Say that again?
Seller-focused presentations.
Seller-focused, yeah. Client-centric, yeah. Very, very good, yeah.
Same way with talking too much.
Yeah.
It's about my solution or whatever, just
Yeah.
stop talking.
Yeah. In Win Fast, Lose Fast, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I'm going to stop being complacent in my existing clients, but I need to make sure I take a step back and give them the thought. And
Yeah, that's very good, isn't it? Because we get into a routine and sort of intuition and habit just take over when we need to be a little bit more critical, possibly even more so with existing clients. Because it's very dangerous, isn't it? It's so easy to lose an existing client. And that's a problem, isn't it? Win fast, lose fast, start and stops.
I said, in part of the process kind of wordsmithing, but making my comments more relevant. When we respond back to the client when we're asking them questions, I like the phrase, in order to make my comments more relevant, I'd like to better understand. So
Yeah.
rather than, as a salesperson, I always want to answer the question and show them that I know the answer. I got to pause, take a breath, count to 3,
Yes.
and then respond because I
Yes.
need more information.
Yeah, and to have some handy language in your pocket that you feel comfortable with, that you feel is authentic to you, is very helpful in actually, pushing that pause button just before you move on. Yeah, anything else in Win Fast, Lose Fast? Either start or stop?
I'm going to stop being a yes man,
Yeah.
and I'm going to start being a maybe man.
Yeah, that's exactly what trusted advisors do. Well, let's think this through. There are probably upsides and downsides to this topic that we're talking about today. Could we just talk this through a little bit more? Yeah, instead of just chasing frisbees. Yeah. Anything else? Win fast, lose fast? Yeah.
I put down that I'm going to be more critical about deals that probably aren't realistic. So to be more willing to close down a deal after
Yeah.
I've qualified it.
Yes. Yeah, in order to increase the focus, right, on the right stuff. Yeah. And last one, handle objections, start or stop. What you going to do? Yeah, Paul.
I'll start looking forward to yellow lights.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Is a yellow light, especially when a client puts a yellow light on the table, isn't that actually an opportunity to engage? It's an invitation to engage. Who said that yellow lights are all horrible? They're not. The client is actually wanting to talk this through with someone. Let us be the trusted advisor that they can talk this through with. Yeah, very nice.
I won't be shy to put the monkey back on the client's shoulders.
Yes. Yeah, what do you think we should do? Yeah,
I'm going to stop guessing.
yeah, how about that? Yeah. All right. So as we think about, what's in it for you, what could be in it for your company, if I could ask you, please, to go to page 3 in your manual. It's the commitment to the 12 weeks, right? There's no silver bullet. There's no, Kool-Aid drinking and all of a sudden, things that, it doesn't work like that, right? So I'm going to ask you to begin to commit to the 12 weeks. On page 3, can you see here where it says work session date? Put today's date right there. And the completion date would be 12 weeks from today, which, if my calculation was right this morning, is March 25. And in order to consolidate what you'd like to work on today, can you see where it says write down the opportunity you want to focus on? This will be for you only, so you won't have to share names or anything like that. So actually write down the name of the client, the name of the opportunity that you're chasing that you would like to focus on and work on today. Actually write that down here. So, now that you've got all that in mind, let me begin to introduce you very quickly to the playbook. If we're emphasizing this 12-week approach so much, well, let's get a feel for what it is. Now, you'll notice that if you flip further down into your manual, you'll come across this red separation page right here, okay, at which point the playbook begins. So if you go to week 1, that's what we're going to suggest. The work would be for that week on the call plan, for example. And so successively through the 12 weeks, all the things we're going to talk about today, they will actually come out as we progress through the playbook. You'll also notice that there's a gray check-in. Can you see the gray tab right there? That is when we're going to suggest that you actually go to your manager, your sales leader, whoever it is that you have some accountability into, in order to explain over the course of the 12 weeks 3 times what you're doing, what's working, what isn't working, the rationale for continuing to work on this opportunity or working on a different opportunity. So 3 times over the course of the 12 weeks, there will be a connection that we're going to ask you to make proactively with whomever it makes sense in your company to actually address how things are going. All right? And we'll get in more and more to the playbook. Now, inside this separation, this orange separation right here, you'll also notice that we've this sleeve right here, that we've given you what we call the learning journal. Everybody got that? So this is where you make notes, things that you like, things that you seem to resonate, options that you'd like to try out. So keep this handy on the table, close to you. This is where you generally make the notes as we go through the day. All right. The playbook is really all about specific things that we're going to ask you to do. We're going to ask you to look at a video, do a little bit of reading, practice something, and then we're going to be very, very insistent on establishing this sort of system of accountability to one another by identifying a coaching partner, somebody to whom you would like to be accountable over the course of the 12 weeks so that on a weekly basis you can connect with that coaching partner and once again, describe what's going on and get some feedback, get some questions from your coaching partner just to make sure that you're tracking in the right direction. So if you go once again to week number 1 right here, you'll notice that here are the things that we're going to ask you to do. And in the orange space at the bottom, there are some coaching tips right there for your coaching partner to actually discuss with you on a weekly basis. Now, these coaching events that happen, these 12 coaching weeks events that are going to happen, they're about the whole playbook system is really designed around 50-minute interactions, 50 minutes in which you will do some things and you will also actually engage with your coaching partner. So we thought that if you had to do less than an hour a week to make sure you get good at these things, that's probably a good investment of time. Would you agree? Yeah. So the whole idea of this coaching partner is that we want to, once again, just let me emphasize this, we want to establish this sort of cadence of accountability. Have you noticed it's not very easy to go to the gym by yourself? Now, if you've got a friend and you've already set up a moment where you're going to meet at the gym, you're probably more inclined to actually go to the gym to do some exercise. So it's the sort of system of accountability that really generates getting good at all these skill sets. All right, so let me introduce you to a video that kind of sets the premise, sets the tone for the whole time that we're going to be together today. As you watch this video, if I could ask you just to begin to jot down things that seem to be resonating with you, things that you'd like to kind of develop maybe over the course of the day, things that are kind of ringing a bell a little bit in your mind. All right, see what you think. Here we go.
Welcome to Qualifying Opportunities. My name is Craig Christensen. Based on our work with tens of thousands of sales performers over the last 15 years, we have developed a 12-week playbook system that creates high performance in teams and individuals. One that helps everyone be a better coach and get the coaching they need. Have you noticed sales professionals can create a pipeline of any size? It's not hard to put deals in. The challenge is knowing which deals are real. We call putting deals into the pipeline, regardless of their quality, pipeline fiction. Pipeline fiction tends to result in spending too much time chasing the wrong deals, too little time focusing on the right deals, and sometimes missing opportunities altogether. Our end in mind over the next 12 weeks is to significantly improve your ability to accelerate the right opportunities in or out of your pipeline. 2 beliefs make this possible. 1, you are most successful when you concentrate first on the success of others and then on your own success. We call this the paradox of success. 2, selling is a dialogue where the salesperson and the client together qualify an opportunity. Let me introduce you to Ben. Ben embodies these beliefs. Like every salesperson, Ben constantly faces very real challenges. How to drive profitable sales that strengthen the client relationship. How to engage with clients who won't engage in business dialogue. How to get insights into client decision-making process, and how to know when clients lack the necessary time, people, or money to support an opportunity. To deal with these common challenges, Ben shows genuine interest in their success, and that has made all the difference. Today, with Ben as our guide, we'll explore critical sales mindsets that have a specific consultative skill set that deliver progressive business results. We have developed a proven system that reinforces these mindsets and helps you practice and improve your skills. We call it a playbook. You will use the playbook to dramatically increase your ability to better qualify your pipeline, focus on the right deals, and win more consistently.
All right, so as you watch that introductory video, anything resonate? Yeah.
Helping others succeed is the key to our success.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about that paradox of success. You know, have you noticed, you know, the more you help someone else succeed, all of a sudden it's a better success for you too? Yes, that's certainly something. Yes, sir.
I like the term pipeline fiction.
Pipeline fiction, you picked up on that also? Yeah, I mean, would you be willing to look at your pipeline today and be very rigorous with it, be very critical with it? You know, and how much pipeline fiction do we actually have that's just bloating the pipeline? Yeah, very good. Anything else?
I think on the concept of pipeline fiction too, I can certainly resonate with the fact that yes, I probably am spending the wrong time with the wrong type of client, and that's why I don't seem to have time.
Yeah, and isn't that critical in qualifying
Yes.
opportunities? Wouldn't it be helpful to early on, not 6 months later, right, when the RFP is about to come out? Do you get RFPs in your world? Yeah, then it's too late, isn't it? You know, early on, understand if we're barking up the right tree. Yeah, very good. Yes, sir.
I like the word jointly qualify. It's our customer helping say, hey, does this make sense as well as us?
Yeah, because intelligent selling is all about mutual benefit. It has to make sense to you. Let me understand you, the client, first. It also has to make sense for me. Otherwise, we don't really have that, you know, the win-win situation there.